Welcome, everybody. My name is Marv Curtis. I'm a coach. I've worked with hundreds of people who've been in situations or relationships or marriages where there's been highly controlling and toxic relationships, most of those being narcissistic abuse. So hopefully I can give you some insights and some coaching to help you feel better on your journey and find some peace. So before we start the kind of training and coaching part, I want to kind of cover some questions that people frequently ask. And the first question I get most often is, why do I still miss her? Or why do I still miss him, even after everything that they did to me? So there's three main components to this. The first is trauma bonding. But to get us on the same page, trauma bond is an attachment emotionally that you have with somebody who's hurting you. And how those form is kind of interesting. So I'm going to give you the classic example. Imagine a small child living in a family or with caregivers who are not safe, possibly are abusive. Let's imagine, for example, that their father is an alcoholic and gets kind of crazy when he's drinking. This child gets into survival mode because it's dangerous. Survival mode usually we think of as fight, flight, or freeze. But as a small child, she can't run away. She can't fight back. It's hard to freeze. And so she does the only thing really available to her, and that is she attaches to her father. Even though he's dangerous, it feels more dangerous to try and be away from him. And that sets up a nervous system pattern that gets repeated later in life over and over again, where you attach to the person that's hurting you, partly because it feels familiar and partly because it feels safer to be together, even if you're being abused, than it does to be alone or abandoned. So that's the first issue. The second one is codependency. Also, if you're here, there's a high chance that you are highly compassionate. You may love helping other people. You may even get your own identity from helping other people. And so when you're in that kind of a relationship with somebody, it's really hard not to help them. And that's why people who are narcissists seek out people who are highly compassionate, because to them, that's a vulnerability they know they can exploit. And it's really hard for you not to help when somebody asks for your help. So they know that you'll give them a second chance, you'll make excuses for them, you'll put up with all kinds of abuse because you're kind, caring, and compassionate. You have a giant open heart. And so you stay with them longer than you should. The last component is grief. When you go through the love bombing phase and your partner is telling you everything you want to hear and need to hear to feel safe, be able to reveal all of your experiences, your secrets, the things that you care about, which they will exploit against you. And then that person turns on you or drops the mask or discards you. It feels like the death of this perfect person you thought you were in love with. And then all of the hopes and dreams that you had about being with them also dies. And so this is just like going through the grief of death, even though you're still with them. So if you combine trauma bonding, codependency, and grief, this sets you up to really miss this person. Any comments or questions about this? All right, next question is, how do I stop obsessing? So it isn't just that you miss them, it's that you can't stop thinking about them. You wake up in the morning wondering, how are they doing? What are they doing? Are they with someone else? Did I do something wrong? And because you would never treat anyone else the way this person has treated you, your brain cannot make sense of this relationship. And so it tries to solve that problem, tries to get closure. So once they've kind of abandoned you or start moving away from the person you fell in love with, you want resolution. You want to figure out what went wrong. So you might ask them to do couples counseling, possibly visit your pastor, at least have a conversation and talk things over. But they don't want to do that. Or if they do it, they're just gathering up ammunition to be meaner to you. They don't think they've done anything wrong. And so they don't see a need for closure. Unfortunately for you, that sends you into survival mode again. You're back in fight, flight, freeze, or in this case, attachment, or sometimes we call it fawning, because your brain cannot make sense of what has happened to you. And so it triggers more obsession. So this is just this loop that gets worse and worse. The more you obsess, the more you want it, and so on and so forth. So it's important to realize that this sets up trauma. The intermittent reinforcement of I love you, I don't love you, I want you, I don't want you, you're good, you're bad, is a traumatic, overwhelming experience. And it isn't just something that you know in your brain, because all of you, I'm sure, have researched this enough to know a lot about this. It sets up this nervous system pattern. And it probably feels familiar if you experience this as a young child or perhaps in young adulthood. So the problem with this is that try as you might, self-help books, videos, even talking to therapists sometimes, if you're just doing conversation or talk therapy, makes you feel better, like you understand it, but it doesn't take away the hurt, the obsession, the rejection. And that's because this is a nervous system experience. Next, sooner or later, they're going to figure out that you think that they're a narcissist. And when they do, they are going to blame you. Everything that goes wrong, they've probably already started to blame on you, and they project on you everything bad that they're thinking or doing. So, for example, they may have accused you of cheating on them, which should be interpreted as them saying, I'm cheating on you, or I'm thinking of cheating on you, because that's what they do. They telegraph what they're thinking or doing. And so you may, because they're very compelling and persistent and persuasive, you may start to believe, well, maybe I am the narcissist. Maybe you do some of the same things to them that they do to you just to protect yourself. And they say, see, you're the narcissist. So I'm going to give you 2 ways to know whether or not you are the narcissist. First of all, we are all blessed to need approval. We all want to be loved. We all want to be admired. But a narcissist will lie, cheat, and steal to get that validation. And you would never do that. Now, once they've turned malignant, which is to say they're gaslighting you, they're stealing from you, they're exploiting you for their own personal gain, which is to say they're going to isolate you from your family, your friends, your employers, your money as a way of controlling you. And they're going to use calculated cruelty to control you. And there's no way in the world you would ever do that to anybody else. So whatever else you're doing, if you won't lie, cheat, or steal to get approval, or use calculated cruelty or isolation or coercion, you're not the narcissist. So they do this to control you because you don't want that to happen, and it's not true. And unfortunately, they are willing to lie better than you can tell the truth. And so you can't stop them. So this is really, I'm going to go to the end question of what you're asking, which is, can they change? Often you're thinking, maybe I don't love them enough. Maybe I'm not good enough. Of course, they're telling you that all of this is true. But here's what you need to know. They don't change. They're not going to change. What they're doing to you now, they did to someone before you. They're probably doing it to someone else while they're doing it to you. And when you're gone, they're going to do it to someone else after you. So in answer to the question you didn't ask, but what I think you meant is, how do I stop this? They're not going to change. You just need to get away from them. Now, that begs another question, which is, what if we have children together? What if we own businesses together or have other assets together? Now, what do I do? So there are ways to do that through third parties or through social media parts where you never actually have contact with them except through an electronic fence, some kind of a barrier between you. All right. This is a big one. How long does it take to break this trauma bond? There are 2 parts to the trauma bond, or to getting out of it. The first is contact. Are you living together? Are you sharing space together? Are you talking on the phone? Are you following up with text or email or social media? As long as you're having that kind of contact, You're telling part of your brain that it's okay to stay attached. And that keeps you in the bond. You have to break contact in order to get out of the trauma bond. That is hard to do. Breaking up usually only happens over and over and over again. Rarely is it once, sometimes it's once. Why? Because they're getting stuff for free from you. They're getting validation, love, appreciation from you for free. They're probably also getting housing, sex, money, who knows what else they're getting. They don't want to give that up, even if they don't like you. And so they may break up with you and then come back. They may break up with you and still want all of the benefits. They may tell you you're horrible and tell all of your friends and neighbors and employers that you're horrible and still come back and want all of those benefits. So it's hard to break up with them because when they come back, they can be very, very persuasive and they know you have a weakness for them and that you want to help them. So they exploit that. But let's say you've done that part already. The next part is, how do you get them out of your head? So this is back where I was saying, it is not a logical problem. You cannot think your way out of that emotional attachment because it's happening at an unconscious or subconscious level. Usually it takes some third party to help walk you through that process. Now, it can take years to try and get out of that by yourself. The good news is we have modalities that we can get you out of that in as little as 30 days. So please know that you don't have to suffer needlessly. Our goal in breaking a trauma bond is to move you to indifference. So they need all this attention. They need to be right. They need to be perfect. Your job is to not give that to them and to not feel guilty about not giving it to them. So that's our overall goal. Now, I'm going to give you a strategy for balancing your emotions, your anxiety, perhaps panic attacks on your own so that you can do it anytime you want. And this puts you in a position to where we're turning your survival instinct off and we're turning your I'm okay instinct back on, because you have to be in a place of safety before you can be indifferent. So the first thing you need to know is you've got this giant nerve flowing from the back of your head down into all of your organs called the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve is the main nerve that stimulates I'm in survival mode, fight, flight, freeze, or I'm in safety mode. I can solve problems. I have good cognition over here. When you're in survival mode, it's triggering high cortisol and high adrenaline so that you can go run away or fight back. But what that means is all your blood's flowing to your arms and your legs, and it's leaving your head. And so you have brain fog. It's hard to think clearly. So we have to get your vagus nerve to feel safe. We have to get blood flowing into your brain so you can think clearly. And we've got to slow your heart down so that it doesn't just race and race, because that tells your vagus nerve that you're in trouble. So here's what we're going to do first. When your body is in survival mode, it tenses up to protect you. And the first place, easiest place to notice that is in your jaw. So just check, feel your jaw muscles and notice whether they're tense. So a lot of people who are in narcissistic relationships are walking on eggshells almost all the time. It means you're constantly worried that something bad is going to happen, and that tenses up your muscles. So when you automatically release the tension in your jaw, you're sending a signal to your vagus nerve that right here and right now, I'm safe. That's the important first step. So release the muscles in your jaw, and then if you can, into your forehead, your eyes and ears, and let your body know that right here and right now, you're safe. Now, the next thing we have to do is we have to turn your brain on. So we're going to do bilateral stimulation. We're going to stimulate right and then left sides of your brain in order to get the blood flowing and get you able to think clearly again. So I'm going to have you cross your arms over your chest and either tap on your upper arms, your shoulders, your collarbones, alternately like this, so that it stimulates both sides of your brain and gets you back into clarity. Now, the third thing we're going to do is regulate your breathing. So there's this thing called rescue breathing. It's something that mammals in the wild do after they've been chased by a predator. I'm going to have you gasp 3 times, then hold your breath. It'll sound like this. And then have you release it while I count down to 6, just through your mouth. And if you can hum while you do it, that's even better. We're going to do that 3 times. So once again, I'm going to count 1, 2, 3. I'm really going to say gasp, 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 then hold. Then we're going to go release 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're doing that 3 times. So as you tap alternately, after having released the tension in your jaw, begin gasp, 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 and hold. And release 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And gasp, 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 and hold. And hum 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Last time. Gasp, 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 and hold. And hum 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then just shake it off and take a cleansing breath and think to yourself, right here and right now, I'm safe. Okay, you can do that as many times as you want until you hyperventilate or you feel like you're getting some relief. And my guess is if you just kind of scan through your body, you'll notice that your heart rate has gone down and you feel a little bit more safe. Okay, now the next thing we're going to do is called tapping. Tapping is the process of connecting your nervous system to your thoughts. This is how we let go of nervous system patterns. So I'm going to have you tap on places on your body where you have a lot of nerve endings. And then I'm going to have you hold in your mind a thought of something that is triggering to you. And what happens when we do this is it lowers the intensity of the emotions that you feel in your body. It's an amazing thing how easily and quickly this works. We're going to use something kind of general so that everybody can feel safe. If as we're doing this, you don't feel safe, just stop and go like this, and that'll bring you back to safety. All right, so here's where we're going to tap. Side of the hand on your karate chop point. We're going to tap between your eyebrows with 3 fingers. The side of your eye where the bone turns. Underneath your eye where the bone turns. Underneath your nose on the top of your lip. On your chin below your lip. And then the bottom of your collarbone below those 2 points, about 1 inch down and 1 inch out, you'll feel a tender spot. Underneath your armpit, maybe 3 fingers down. And the top of your head where you had a soft spot as a baby. Now, what I want you to do to prime your brain is I want you to think about some experience where you felt attached to your partner and you didn't want to be. Or think of a time when they embarrassed you or made you feel fearful. Some experience where on a scale of 0 to 10, you were at least a 5 in the intensity of that bad emotion. Let's say you're in a restaurant, they yelled at you because the food was poor, called you names and embarrassed you in front of everybody else. Then I want you to scan your body and notice where you feel that feeling in your body. And for many people, you're either going to feel it kind of in your heart or your chest or your throat, possibly your shoulders, or maybe your gut. Notice where that is, and then I want you to calculate how intense the feeling is from 1 to 10. The reason I'm going to have you do that is so that when we're finished with this, we can look at that number and notice whether or not it went down. I'm going to ask you to repeat out loud the things I'm going to have you say while we tap. If you're nervous about having your voice heard, you can put yourself on mute. But the reason we do it out loud is because your brain and your heart don't talk to each other very well. Speaking out loud lets them both know what's going on. Everybody ready? All right, starting on the karate chop point. Repeat after me. Even though there's still a part of me that feels attached, and my nervous system learned this connection for survival, another part of me is open to the possibility that I can begin to feel a little safer now. Even though my body got used to the highs and the lows, and a part of me is still waiting for love, my system can start learning that this moment is different from the past. Now, between your eyebrows, this emotional obsession in my system, side of the eye, my body learned this connection under your eye, thinking it was survival. Under your nose. This attachment lives in my nervous system. Chin. And my nervous system was trying to protect me. Collarbone. But right here and right now, I am safe. Under your arm. This moment is different from the past. Top of the head. My nervous system can begin to notice the difference. Back to the eyebrows. I don't have to force this to change. Side of the eye. My system can release in small steps. Under your eye. I only shift what feels safe. Under your nose. My nervous system is learning. Chin. I can keep the lessons I'm learning. Collarbone. And let go of the pain. Under your arm. I can begin remembering who I am without this attachment. Top of the head. My system can start updating right now. And as you stop tapping, just kind of shake it off, take a deep breath. And as your nervous system continues to process this, you may notice over the next couple of hours or even days, it will continue to give you more peace and more understanding. So now scan your body again. Notice that place where you felt that attachment and recalibrate it. Notice, did the number go down?
Yeah.
And that's how we release that nervous system trauma attachment. Now, obviously, if we were working together, we would use very specific experiences in your life, probably going back to when it first started, and that's how we get the full release. But now I want to talk about isolation. So one of the hardest things in these relationships is that they isolate you from your loved ones, your support network, from your employers, your family, friends, all of that, and sometimes from your money. And this leaves you feeling all alone and like you don't deserve help. So we're going to tap on that. So take another slow breath in and notice what happens in your body as you consider the possibility that the isolation you experienced was never proof that you were meant to be alone. So tapping on the side of your hand. Even though I learned to handle everything alone, because I was isolated and made to doubt myself, I honor how my system protected me. and I'm open to safe support now. Even though part of me still feels safer staying isolated, because that's what I was conditioned to do, I respect that part. And I'm willing to explore new connection that feels different. Okay, between your eyebrows now. I learned to shrink my world. Side of the eye. I learned to keep things to myself. Under your eye. Isolation felt safer. Under your nose. Even if it hurt. Chin. That was survival. Collarbone. And I honor how my system adapted. Under your arm. But I don't live there anymore. Top of the head. I don't have to stay isolated to stay safe. Eyebrow again. Maybe support doesn't mean losing control or judgment. Side of the eye. Maybe connection doesn't mean being manipulated. Under the eye. Maybe safe guidance exists. Under your nose. Maybe I can test that slowly. Chin. Just one small step. Collarbone. One simple conversation. Under your arm. One space where I'm not alone. Top of the head. I can allow safe support at my own pace. Okay, take a slow, deep breath and shake it off. And just notice you don't have to convince yourself of anything. But when your nervous system recognizes safety, you'll start to have clarity naturally. And people often find that when the right support appears, there's just a quiet sense of knowing, and you can allow that readiness to show up on its own. Okay, so we're right at the end of our 30 minutes. That's the end of the coaching portion of this call. Thank you for joining. I hope this has been helpful to you. Feel free to join other sessions anytime you want. And if you don't have to leave, I'm going to stay on for a few minutes longer for questions and for sharing. But before you go, some of you have asked how to go deeper with this work on a more of a one-on-one basis. So I want you to know I do offer one-on-one coaching. And for people who have stayed on the call this long, I have a 30-minute regulating call one-on-one. Normally that's $100. For those of you who have stayed on the call, it's only $27. So I'm going to post the link to that in chat for those of you who are curious. I know many of you, when you registered, said that you were possibly interested if it felt right to you.